Yo, yo, yo. We live on YouTube and Twitter, man. Welcome in, welcome in. It's another edition of the Chris B. Captain Show. I'm doing these NBA team previews. What up, Mitch? I see you in the chat, bro. Appreciate you being here as always. We not gonna waste too much time. It's NFL Monday, NFL Thursday night football tonight. So we're not gonna spend too much time on the NBA. But like I said, man, I'm doing two team previews per day until the preseason kicks off. I'm dedicated to the grind. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it, man. We're gonna get into it. What up, D? Appreciate you being here, my brother. We have the Washington Wizards and the Dallas Mavericks. So let's just go ahead and jump into it, man. Let's go jump into it. I'm not into wasting people's time like I always talk about. So it's gonna be a quick highlight for what's transpired in the offseason of each one of these teams. We'll discuss additions and subtractions, a recap of last season, the expectations for this season. Doing this just to kind of bring people back up to speed, refresh memories on what's happened, clarify roster moves, but more importantly, to make us, more informed bettors. So I always like to say, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Two teams a day until the preseason started. Like I said, we started last Thursday, so we've been doing two teams a day since Thursday. We've been through the Pelicans, the Hawks, the Clippers, the Nets, the Timberwolves, the Cavs, the Spurs, the Bulls, the Hornets, the Nuggets, the Lakers and the Raptors, the Knicks and the Jazz yesterday. And like I said, we'll be transitioning to the Wizards and the Mavs today. So we got Philly and Sacramento up tomorrow. I'm excited to talk about those two teams. But we're going to go ahead and get started with we'll go ahead and get started. Let's stay on the East Coast, right up the street from where I am in D.C. We got the Washington Wizards. Let's start there. So as far as additions, this Wizards team, the biggest addition that they made during the offseason is just re-signing the Bradley Beal. He got a massive contract, 5 years, $251 million. They paid him like he was a superstar. It's going to be interesting to see if he could take his game to the next level and be that superstar that they paid him to be. When you get $251 million, that to me, that symbolizes, not only just a franchise player, but a transcending talent, somebody that's going to lead his team to the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs if you're getting that type of money. But, they were kind of forced that, what else could they do in that situation? Bill's 29 years old, just still in his prime, coming off back-to-back, 30-point per game seasons until he dipped last year with the wrist injury. So I totally understand their hand was kind of forced. You also get Will Barton coming over via trade from the Denver Nuggets. Monte Morris was also involved in that trade, so they get Will Barton. He probably gonna play a little bit of the three. Monte Morris gonna play the point guard, of course, which is probably a slight upgrade as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. This team also gets Taj Gibson, who signed a 1-year deal. DeLon Wright agreed to a 2-year deal, and they drafted Johnny Davis with the 10th pick. Which I don't think he'll have a significant impact on this team, just based on depth at the roster position. I don't think that he'll get in and make too much of a contribution at the shooting guard position. So as far as subtractions, KCP left his team. He went to Denver. He ended up going to Denver. Ish Smith also went to Denver. That was the trade that was made, and we discussed Denver on Monday. So we did talk about that. They lost Thomas Bryant. He signed with my Lakers out west. Raul Neto signed with the Cavs. They're going to be extremely deep at point guard. And then Tomas Satoransky also left this team as well. So some key guys, that made an impact last year. They are returning guys. A lot of their role players are returning, and we'll get into those guys as well. As far as the last season recap, this team started off on fire. I don't know if people remember. I think they started like 10-2, 10-3, something like that. They beat a bunch of good teams and then kind of tailed off towards right before the middle of the season. And then after the middle of the season, it was just kind of downward spiral from there. We saw Bradley Beal go down with a hand injury. They also made that was in February. He missed the rest of the season, never returned. They competed. They competed early. They completed the trade that landed Porzingis last year and sent Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to Dallas. Porzingis came over. He averaged 22 points and 8 rebounds in 17 games with the Wizards last season. But just overall in his last two seasons, Porzingis has only played in 61% of his team's regular season games over the last 2 years. So Porzingis' health is something that, if you're looking to, play on this win total, it's something that's going to be, extremely important because he's a big part of the team, especially at the center position. Daniel Gafford is a serviceable backup, but he doesn't bring a lot of offensive, potential and capability like someone of Porzingis' stature. So that's what I'll be looking at. Another big concern, besides Porzingis' health, is just looking at this team defensively. They struggled last year defensively. I don't know if people remember, but specifically towards the end of the season, they were giving up points left and right. They finished bottom third in the league defensively last year. And I think, they could potentially struggle on the defensive end again this year. Also, three-point shooting was another big key for this team. They struggled to knock down the three. They also finished in the bottom third of the league in three-point shooting. So those things were things that I thought needed to be addressed. Monte Morris is an okay shooter. I'm not, extremely high on his shooting capabilities, more so on his playmaking capabilities. And Will Barton, we know he's just, we don't know what we're gonna get from Will Barton. One day he could go off, the next day he could be, pretty terrible. So, you got to take Will Barton for what you get. It doesn't surprise me when he has a 20-point game. It also doesn't surprise me when Will Barton has a 6-point game. So, he'll have a big role, be competing with guys like Rudy Hachimura, Danny Avdia, for the small forward position on this team. He's an undersized small forward too, which also I think doesn't help them a lot at all. Will Barton's no taller than 6'6", lanky guy. He's no more than 190, 120 pounds. So that's kind of the last season wrap up and recap. As far as off-season notes, like I said, the biggest thing that this team did was bring Bill back. 5 years, $251 million. It's crazy. They have a bunch of small guys, I think, who can make an impact, but I'm just not really high on Monte Morris. And I know that that people might not be looking at it the same way I did. And I do understand that he had a 4.2 assist to turnover ratio last year, which ranked 5th in the NBA of all players. And I think that's cool. I just watched him struggle so much last year in the playoffs against Golden State. And I know that's the cream of the crop. They end up winning the championship, but he just doesn't push the needle for me as much with this team trying to get over the hump and make another a actual run and try to make the playoffs this year. So, like I said, biggest thing they did was re-sign Bill. Like I said, a bunch of guards now. You bring in Morris. Will Barton is an undersized guard. Like I said, Johnny Davis from Wisconsin, which I don't think will get a lot of playing time on this roster, at least not early, unless they start to tank. But then, like I said, you add Monte Morris. I don't think him and Will Barton coming over is significant in them moving up in the standings at all. And you get a projected lineup of Monte Morris at the 1, Bill playing at 2, Will Barton probably gonna start at the 3, Kyle Kuzma start at the 4, and then you'll have Porzingis playing the 5. If they can stay healthy, like I could see that team, actually competing to a certain extent. Monte Morris and Will Barton should have something to prove. Being shipped out of Denver, Bill coming back, probably wanting to feel like he earned the $250 million. He might be playing with a chip on his shoulder, being that he has the keys to the vehicle over there, which he has for the last few years. But it's different when you sign for $250 million. A lot of people, what I was reading was, even Washington Wizards fans weren't necessarily excited about giving Bill $250 million, because if you give somebody $250 million, you expect them to be prime time every single night, make an exponential impact in the game. And I'm not saying that Bill doesn't, but Bill is more so just a scorer. Like, you need to be a transcendent talent. You need to be somebody that's doing a bunch of different things, in my estimation, to get $250 million. And I think the Wizards fans kind of agree with that. I love Bill. Been following him since he was at Florida. I don't have anything but good things to say about Bill, but $250 million is just a lot. That's a lot of money to give one player when you're trying to, trying to ascend to, getting back to the playoffs. Last year, this team finished 37-45, which was good for 12th place in the Eastern Conference. Their projected win total this year is only 35.5 again. To me, that number is really, really sharp. So I'm not wanting to play that at all, but I think it is interesting that Vegas and the odds makers got them projected around the same they did last year. Granted, Bill will be coming back this year healthy, and we're not projecting injuries at all, right? So maybe that's kind of baked into the line already. When you get Bill coming back off the wrist injury, Porzingis, who hasn't, like I said, only played 61% of his last 2 seasons on the Dallas Mavericks, respectfully. All those things I think kind of go into consideration. So I'm not touching that. Porzingis' health is something that definitely comes into question. Chemistry with the new pieces is something that definitely comes into question. You bring back, a couple really good, serviceable guys that the Wizards have drafted. I'm talking about Rudy Hachimura. I'm talking about Danny Avdia. I'm talking about, just some Gil. They bring Gil back. Just those guys. Will those guys be able to take a leap this year, right? With another team that we're talking about, just player development. Another team that didn't go out and make a big splash in the offseason. I'm just curious to see what that looks like. Which is why I want to kind of stay off the win total. Also taking into consideration, the East got a lot better. So bringing over guys, like I said, Monte Morris and Will Barton doesn't really push the needle for me as much. I think the ceiling for this team is to make the play-in game. I think that would be, a pretty good feat for them and a successful season for them. And even if they do make the play-in game and win the play-in game, losing in the first round is about high as I got this team. And of course, all that's dependent upon, like I said, Porzingis staying healthy and, Bill staying healthy as well. The worst thing I think could happen is Porzingis or Bill were to go out and get hurt. Then we don't even get a chance to see these two teams together. So those are my thoughts. This team also has the 8th most difficult schedule of all 30 teams. And one other key thing that I found when doing some research on the scheduling, they also have the most one-game trips. They have 12 one-game trips, including 4 in the first 15 days of the season, where they just got a one and done kind of back home situation. So looking at their schedule, they start off in Indiana. That should be a winnable game on opening night, Wednesday, October 19th. Then they play the Bulls. That's going to be a tough game to win. Then they go to Cleveland. Then they come back home and play Detroit. Then they play Indiana. So maybe 2 winnable games there. But then you travel to Boston. Then you come back home to play Philly. Then you travel to Philly. Then you come back home to play Brooklyn, Memphis. So yeah, it gets really, really difficult. Not a lot of games in one place, whether it's on the road or at home. Kind of having to travel back and forth. I don't think the odds makers did them any favors there. So like I said, no play for me on the total. 35.5 is what I saw that, but I'm not really super high on the Wizards just because, like I said, the East got better. Monte Morris and Will Barton don't really move the needle for me. Will I watch this team? Yes, they're the local team. Like I said, I'm in VA, so they're the local team. But I'm not watching them on nights when I got other things to watch. I just renewed my NBA League Pass subscription, so yeah, I'll check out the Wizards games because they start so early. But I probably won't be watching a lot of them, and I don't expect too much from this Wizards team. If anybody got thoughts or questions about the Washington Wizards this year, definitely request up. I see my guy Joey is in the building. Joey, if you're free, bro, you definitely can share your thoughts and your opinions on the Washington Wizards this year, brother.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, bro?
What up, bro? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. So we're talking Washington Wizards. It was a little bit of a weird one for me. I'm not doing that circuit thing or whatever where I have to bet every win total, but I was really trying to find an angle on every team. And with these Wizards, it's a little bit tough because I just feel like they are right in the middle and they're priced correctly for it as far as at the moment, they're not necessarily rebuilding because they gave Beal that contract and they got Porzingis and Kuzma, but they're not necessarily competing either. And so to have them priced at 35.5 wins, I feel is a little high just because, and I missed the first 2 minutes. If you touched on it, I apologize. But my biggest red flag with this team is the fact that I truly can see them throughout midseason trading and going 100% into rebuilding. I don't know if they would necessarily get Beal out of there, but whether it's shipping Porzingis off again or Kuzma or something, I just, the way that I view this Washington team is I see them as sellers by the trade deadline. So that's why I can't really get on an over with them. But the thing that gives me a little bit of resistance on taking an under is we didn't really get to see Bradley Beal. And now you got Bradley Beal, and you got Kuzma, and you got Porzingis. It ain't no big three, but they can definitely compete with some of these bottom-of-the-barrel teams. But being in the East, it's a little bit hard because – and I have a few unders, but some of these teams have to go under because a few of the teams have to go over, obviously. And I think the Wizards are one of those teams where they're going to get beat up on. But it's just tough to say. I mean, they'll always win their games where I know they beat my Bucks once a year, every year. They'll always win a couple that they're not supposed to. But I just feel that the market they really picked a good line for them. I see them being sellers by the trade deadline. That's the way that I see it. I would lean under, but I can't fully get there.
Yeah, Joey, we definitely agree, bro. I think everything you said is, a version of what I said, bro. I totally agree. I think the line set they said it correctly. And I could definitely see them being sellers. The one thing I did also look at, Joey, I didn't mention this part, but they have the 10th highest paid salary. So I think they're gonna go over the luxury tax. And when you're doing that, you really want to compete for the playoffs. You really want to actually make something of your season, especially when you're paying a guy $250 million. But I agree, Joey. The Wizards are that team that they're not quite good enough to get to the second round of the playoffs, but they also aren't great enough to tank either. They have too much talent to tank and get a top 4 or 5 draft pick, but which is why they keep landing these 10 to 15 round draft picks, and you keep getting guys that have to develop into something else. Not to say that you can't draft a guy 10 to 15 or 17 that develops into something great, but the chances of that just become so they just decrease. They diminish so much when you're drafting outside of the top 5 or the top 10, and that's where the Wizards kind of fall for me. So I agree. I'm not going to regurgitate everything you said, Joey, and that's one of the reasons why too, bro. I'm with you. I think it's just I think the number's too close, but I would only look towards the under unless we see some injuries from a couple of the top contenders in the Eastern Conference that we don't see right now. So I agree with that, Joey. I appreciate you being here and appreciate your take, bro. I want to kick it to Generational Gentleman. Tell me a little bit about appreciate you being here, first of all, but tell me a little bit, bro, about what you predict for these Washington Wizards if you can come off mute.
For sure, man. Appreciate you for having me as always. Honestly, with these Wizards, I'm kind of looking at them. They look okay, actually. They might actually be one of the little sneaky teams, especially with Barton and Morris. You actually added 2 competitors, you know what I'm saying, who I think are competitors, to kind of like a shitty team. I mean, you had Bill back, Morris, Barton, Porzingis, and then they still got Hachimura. I feel like they might do okay. I feel like they're not going to really tank like a lot of people think. But yeah, I feel like they'll be all right.
So my question for you, Generational Gentleman, I don't know if you did this already, but where do you think they finish at in the Eastern Conference?
As far as the Eastern Conference, I really didn't even get a chance to look at rosters and stuff like that. But
all right, so look, so that's cool. Look, I'm gonna name the teams. You tell me if they finish above or below that team, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, they finish below all those teams, right? We agree?
Yeah, definitely
okay,
agree.
So that's the top 4. Then you got Toronto, Chicago, Brooklyn, and Atlanta. What about those four?
Yeah, I feel like they finished below.
Below
I
all
feel
them?
like they'll still. Yeah, I feel like they'll finish below. I
Then,
feel like they'll still compete, but they'll lose.
okay, so you got them finishing about because I still didn't mention Cleveland yet, and I don't know where the Knicks are going to finish. Like I think that they're always a weird team, but I do think they got a tad bit better than they were last year. So we got them at least in about the 10th position, but you don't think that they're going to be as bad as like who, the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, I feel like they might be better than the Pacers, honestly. Just because of how much talent that they have, and the Pacers really don't have anybody or like any real leadership, honestly. So that's where I look at it from that standpoint. But yeah, you just named a whole bunch of teams, and now I'm second guessing. I'm
Yeah,
like, damn.
hey, bro, that's
I'm
what
like,
it is,
damn.
though. That's what it is, though, Jordan, because you got to think, right? So I named the top 8, right? But even within the top 8 last year, like Cleveland finished 9th last year. So
Right.
Cleveland's not going to finish 9th this year. I think we all agree that Cleveland's going to be better. And one of these teams might be worse. Maybe it's Chicago, right? But I still think Chicago is better than Washington. And then Charlotte, I think Charlotte's going to decline just a tad bit as well. They finished 10th. But when you think about the teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, like Orlando, I think that they're better. I'm not saying that they're,
Right.
going to make the playoffs, of course, but I think they're better than 22 and 60. And then I think about Detroit. Detroit finished 23 and 59. I think they're going to be better too. So you really only got the Pacers and the Knicks left, and that's the bottom of the barrel.
So it's like, fuck, yeah, they might just be ass this year, honestly. They might just be shitty, like,
yeah.
They might just be ass, bro.
Yeah, I think that the one, I'm glad you mentioned that though, generational gentlemen, because one thing I think I'm trying to make sure I'm doing, I'm not trying to throw clout. I'm not trying to, provide clout to any team that I think is going to do well. I'm also not trying to, dog any team that I don't think is going to do well. I'm just literally looking, on paper, based on projections, based on offseason moves. These teams in the Eastern Conference is going to be good. So if you didn't make if you didn't make some moves, then you might be struggling. You know what I mean? Like I just don't see, those guys unless Porzingis can stay healthy, unless Monte Morris and Will Barton coming over, impacts the team more than I expected to, and unless Kuzma takes his game to the next level and Bradley Beal just goes crazy, I think this team, does about what they did last year. Granted, they'll have Bill. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Porzingis can stay healthy. And I know their expectations for themselves are a lot higher than what we have for them. But realistically, like I can't put them like, top 8 or even top 10 in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, not at all. Like, and then Cleveland's coming back. That's just gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But I appreciate you letting me come up.
No, absolutely, bro. I'm glad we got a chance to talk it out for sure. And I appreciate you requesting up.
For sure. I'm gonna be back for the Mavericks.
I was about to say, yeah, I'm about to get into the Mavs now. Anybody got anything else they want to add to the Washington Wizards, man? Y'all definitely request up. Appreciate you guys in the chat over on YouTube as well. But yeah, we can. It don't look like nobody else got anything for the Wizards, so we can kick it to. We can go to Dallas real quick, and I know that's what people came for anyway. I know I got some Dallas love in the chat. People want to hear what I got to say about the Dallas Mavericks, so let's go that way. Let's kick it to Dallas, man. We talked about the Wizards too long anyway. So we'll start with additions. So the biggest addition, of course, was the Christian Wood move, which I absolutely love. If you've been following me for a while, I tweeted it out, as soon as it happened. I love Christian Wood on this team coming over via the trade from the Rockets. They also add more depth, bringing in a guy like JaVale McGee. He agreed to a 3-year deal. Jaden Hardy, they drafted. I don't know how much he'll actually play, but I think he's a good pickup as well. And then of course, addition by coming off the injury list, you get Tim Hardaway Jr. back too, and he's expected to be healthy this year. So I actually like those moves. This wasn't a team, unlike the Wizards, this wasn't a team that I thought needed to make a bunch of roster moves based on what they had. We know that they went deep into the playoffs last year, to the Western Conference Finals before being eliminated by the Golden State Warriors. But I'm going to stay on task. So subtractions. They did, of course, lose Jalen Brunson. And it sucks the way they lost Jalen Brunson because they didn't even get anything for him. End of his contract, of course. They just lost him to free agency. Couldn't even get anything in return. So you lose somebody like Brunson who played a big role last year. Brunson played a big role for this team, carried them, into the playoffs when Luka was hurt. And was really he had really good chemistry, although he was a point/shooting guard, and him and Luka played the same position. I love the way they kind of fed off each other. But of course, he's in New York now. Willie Cauley-Stein went to the Pacers. Trey Burke got traded to the Rockets to get Christian Wood, and Marquise Chris also got traded to the Rockets as well. And then Boban Marjanovic is gone as well. So those 5 guys all left the team. As far as the last second recap, I kind of talked about this already. This team won 52 games and reached the Western Conference Finals, while upsetting the number 1 seed Phoenix Suns in Game 7, which was still crazy. In the process, in the semifinals, in the midst of making a trade for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans for Porzingis, and losing Tim Hardaway Jr. So, man, this team, I'm pretty high on this team this year. I think I like Coach Kidd as a coach in general. I also love that Luka's been working out this offseason, so we don't get chubby Luka to start the season, kind of trying to play himself back into shape. But I'll get there. I think I'm moving too fast. Let's transition to offseason notes. So one person I'm gonna be really looking at is Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm gonna be looking at Dinwiddie a lot. He's a guy that came over in the trade from the Wizards last season, mid-season, where he clearly didn't fit and was having a horrible season to get a fresh start. And he thrived in his role in Dallas. Now he gets even more usage that Brunson's gone to New York. He's a good ball handler. He has a decent outside shot, and he has the potential to get really hot from the outside as well. I think he gets expanded usage, and I expect more production from a guy who can create his own shot, because we know Dallas doesn't have too many of those guys. I mentioned Christian Wood just a tad bit. I think his potential is through the roof. I know everybody doesn't agree with that, but I think he buys into the defensive scheme that Coach Kidd and the coaching staff has implemented in Dallas. And he really takes his game to the next level and produce for a winning team where he's not, in Houston anymore, just out there, filling the stat sheet up, not necessarily trying to win games. The biggest concern for me on the Dallas Mavericks is going to be Luka's health. If you guys were watching, which I didn't really pay too much close attention, but I went back and did my homework to the Euro basketball, there were 3 different separate injuries that were reported for Luka. He had all seemed pretty minor, but there was a wrist injury. He got the injection in his back after taking a hard foul in the second to last game, I think, and in his ankle. So I don't know how major those injuries are. Luka also had a quote where he said he was just dealing with a lot of stuff. He didn't say what, whether it was personal stuff or injury stuff. Last season, the Mavs went 10-10 without Luka, but this year without Brunson, I think it could be a little more difficult. So that's my kind of, my synopsis for this team. Last year, like I said, they went 52-30. They finished second in the Southwest Division. This year, they get the 17th most difficult schedule, or you could say middle of the pack. Most difficult schedule. That's pretty close to most difficult. Projected win total is only 48.5, which is 3 less than they won last year. I would only be able to look towards the over. I know the Western Conference got better, but I also think that they got better. If Luka can stay healthy throughout, like I said, they won 3 more games last year. You get Luka coming to the season actually in basketball shape, which I mentioned already. I think that I think what they missed last year the most was size, and you kind of saw it in that series. Kevon Looney had the series of his life against the Dallas Mavericks because he dominated the rebounding aspect and was just able to score in the paint down low. But I think when you bring in a guy like Christian Wood, who I believe, like I said, will buy into the system in Dallas, and then you get, Tim Hardaway Jr. back, you bring over a defensive president like JaVale McGee, I would only be able to look towards, taking this team to go over the 48.5 wins. Full transparency, I haven't put the bet in yet. I also got down in my notes that Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he's excited about his return as well. He watched his 3-point percentage drop 6% last year from 2 years ago before he got injured. Also, I think the role players for this team got a chance last season to really taste what success looked like at a really high level. And I'm looking for those guys to make a similar, if not bigger, impact. I'm talking about the Dorian Finney-Smiths of the world. I'm talking about Reggie Bullock, Spencer Dinwiddie, Maxi Kleber, who I think exceeded a lot of expectations. But of course, like I said, Spencer Dinwiddie, expanded role. He has to fill the void of losing Brunson to be that ball handler. But as I said, Luka's health, I think, is the biggest concern because this team's going to go as far as Luka takes him for sure. I'm not playing that total at 48.5, but I do see this team winning 50 games this year. And I can only look towards the over. Semi bold prediction. I don't think it's too bold of a prediction, but looking at Luka to win MVP, I think is a realistic bet to kind of put in place too. If you want to sprinkle on that, like I said, if he can stay healthy, already being in shape is only going, bode even better for this team, and increase his chances. I think his usage will still be there. He's only 23 years old, and the guy's he's a stud. Luka is a stud. Transcendent next generation type player for sure that can do so much for your team as far as scoring the ball, as far as getting others involved, as far as rebounding the ball. He's a leader. I know he's trying to pick it up on the defensive end, and that's one of the things that Coach Kidd is challenging him on every single day. Looking at the schedule at the beginning of the season, they don't really have an easy schedule. It's pretty difficult. They're going to be tested early. They start the season off in Phoenix, which, is going to be a pretty good game. That's the ESPN late night game, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Then they travel to Memphis. I'm sorry. They start off in Phoenix. They come home to host Memphis. Then they travel to New Orleans. Then they go to Brooklyn. Then their schedule does get a little easier. They get Oklahoma City, Orlando, and Utah before taking on Toronto and Brooklyn. So, some ups and downs that starts the question for sure, to start the season for sure. But like I said, I would only be looking towards them to go over that 48.5. I like this team. I like the roster. I like the defense. I like the addition of Christian Wood. And I think that this is a hard-nosed team that's going to bring it every single night on the defensive end. And that'll always kind of keep you in ball games for sure. Those are my thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks. Joey, Joey, you came off first, Joey. Talk to me a little bit. Anybody else got any questions, any concerns, or comments on this Dallas Mavericks team? Definitely request up.
Hey, Chris, you nailed it, bro. And before even getting into anything, you look at this Mavericks team with just a healthy Luka, you can win 49 games. I'm with you, bro. I don't understand all the hate and negativity towards Christian Wood. I think Christian Wood is great, and I think what we saw was exactly what we saw with Harden. You were on a Rockets that he's not the same level as Harden, but you're on a Rockets team that's not really able to do much. So you're out there, you're just balling, you're putting up numbers. What else do you want the guy to do? He's setting himself up for an opportunity like this. The Mavericks wanted him, and now he's there. And I think it's tremendous that exactly all they needed was a big man, like you said, and now they picked up Christian Wood, which everyone is aware of. But I think it's very underrated that they picked up McGee as well. I think that was a great signing. I actually wanted Milwaukee to try and get him, but it didn't work out. That's huge right there as well. And if you want – you said a bold prediction that I don't really think was too bold. If you want a bold prediction, I think that Tim Hardaway Jr. could be in the runnings for sixth man or comeback player of the year next year. I don't think people really see the impact that he would have had in that postseason with them last year. It's just the way that I look at this team, just the fact that Luka has been balling this offseason overseas, wherever that's at. He's going to come in shape, just like what Giannis does every offseason. And he hasn't reached that level that we give shit to Harden for, where he's not ready in the offseason, he's overweight and everything. But if you're being completely real, you can look at Luka and you look at him and think, you could be a little more fit, care about the shit a little bit more. He's just so damn good that it doesn't matter.
It does not matter, bro. It's crazy.
And so now he's coming in. I think we're going to see a more fit Luka. I think now that they got a taste of what this team truly can reach, smacking the absolute shit out of the Suns in that Game 7, getting to the Warriors and just not being quite good enough to beat that Warriors team, I think that they're going to be ready this season. I think they want to go right back there. Luka understands how good he is, wants to build on that legacy. And, yeah, I think that Luka with Dinwiddie and Christian Wood, and just the fact that Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be coming back, you take off 3 wins from how many that they won last year. Yeah, I look at the over for that one.
Yeah, same, Joey. I agree, bro. Like I said, I didn't place it yet, but it's really hard for me to not place that one. I haven't placed any futures yet, but that's one of my favorites in Cleveland. And I know I need to. I just been BSing on putting my future tickets in, but I know I need to go ahead and do it because I know they're moving. Right, we're definitely seeing the line moves. I want to kick it to generational gentleman real quick. Shout out to OG Wham. Wham, I see you in the building, my brother. Appreciate you being here. Wham, if you want to come up and discuss, I know you've been doing your previews, bro, and I know you do your homework. If you want to discuss the Dallas Mavericks or you want to shed light on the Washington Wizards, those are the 2 teams for the day. So definitely request that, bro. If not, I totally understand as well. Could be busy. But generational gentleman, I want to kick it to you, bro. Tell me what you think about what are your expectations for the Dallas Mavericks this year?
I feel like the Mavericks are going to do great. Obviously, I mean they lost Jalen Brunson. He made me a lot of money. Lost me a lot of money. But the Mavs in total, they were my most profitable team, honestly. So I'm gonna go with them again this year. I like them to do good this year. They added Christian Wood. I just read he was shooting like 39% from the 3 last season. I mean, that's tremendous for a big man. So it's like, I mean, for Luka to be able to play off of that, that's great. And then you got JaVale, which was that big man that they were missing, I want to say, on the defensive end. And now, I mean, you got the Dwight Powell coming off the bench. So it's like, I mean, you really can't get it. Like, you really can't look either way. Because, I mean, the big men on this team are looking great, honestly.
Yeah, Luka gonna put him in position to shine for sure, bro. I would agree with your comments for sure. Is there something else that you wanted to add, generational?
Reggie Bullock 3 threes, Finney Smith 3 threes, Finney Smith 5 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? Like all that shit cash for me in the first half, majority of the playoffs. So I'm gonna keep riding with that again this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think you got to for sure. Shout out to Euphoria. Euphoria in the chat. He said the Pelicans gonna get Dallas a run for their money. That's gonna be a clash I'm looking to see. I'm looking for that, Euphoria. That to me, that that's what makes basketball exciting when we get to see these matchups. Because like you said, the Pelicans they're gonna shock the world just a tad bit, even more than they did last year. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. I haven't even thought about the comparison. Who I like. I think we definitely gotta see how these teams kind of fill each other out, and I like to do more than just looking at it on paper. I want to watch them play, see how they play against the bad teams, against the good teams, because they remind me of each other with how much energy they bring on the defensive end. So offensively, it's interesting to see who has the upper hand, and if they can slow Luka down. Interesting to see how aggressive Brandon Ingram's going to be. If CJ McCollum turns into the point guard now that you get Zion back. So I'm interested to see all that. Joey, I'm gonna kick it to you because you came off mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some friendly pushback. I just want to ask, when are we gonna stop putting the Pelicans up on this pedestal?
I think we gonna do it, Joey, as long as they until they. Well, hold on. So first, let me say this. I think the pedestal that they got put on last year, Joey, I think they deserved it, bro. I would say they did because of the simple fact that
100%.
you integrate that team so late into the season together, and they exceeded all our expectations by taking Phoenix as far as they did and beating who did they end up beating? Did they beat the Clippers in the play-in game? Whoever they beat in the play-in game, to make it into the playoffs. And I think what Willie Green was able to do with that, and was that his first year? I think it was his first year last year. His first year with the team. You get Zion back, which only improved the team. So I think it's warranted, right?
No, I agree. But at the same time, that's also last year. And just let me preface this first. I don't want this to come off as hating. I love Willie Green. I like the Pelicans team. I was really glad to see when they got CJ and what CJ was able to do. Like, if you remember when he first got there, he said, like, yo, everyone, like, we're going out to dinner. And he really whipped them up into shape. But, and I hate to base it off of hypotheticals, but are they really here right now if Paul George didn't get COVID right before that playing game? I don't know. And we saw what ended up happening with the Suns. So there's no hate for me on the Pelicans. I will say there's 100% hate for me with the Suns. So take that with a grain of salt. How good was that Suns team, really? We saw what happened with them. They did give them a run for their money. The team, I guess that's what would keep them in there, is just how gritty they are and how Willie Green can really get them up for these situations. But I just think it's wild that we're talking about the Pelicans compared to a Luka Doncic-led team. Like, we know who's finishing above the other team.
I don't know, Joy. I don't know about that one. I mean, I guess I would probably say so, but like I said, I haven't really compared those teams. And before I gave that out, I probably would, want to think about that just a tad bit more. What I'm looking at, Joy, I'm seeing Phoenix. They probably finish again, top 1 or 2. They brought everybody back. Memphis, they're gonna finish maybe not 2, but they're gonna finish, top 4, top 5. Golden State will as well. So the top of the West doesn't change too much. But I do think that Dallas could potentially get a top 3 seed. Utah gonna fall out the picture altogether. Denver gets better, so they probably gonna push up and not be a 6 seed and probably get to 5 or 4 as well. Minnesota, I think, probably pushes up and gets to probably about a 5 or 6 seed. And then the Pelicans. We talked about the Clippers just a tad bit already in Ski's team preview. I don't think that they're gonna be a regular season team. Team that's trying to win regular season games, and then you got to make a little room for my Lakers in there somewhere. So I do think this team finishes about, last year they finished 8th. I think the Pelicans finish probably about 6th this year. What would your rebuttal to that, Joy? You think they can finish 6th this year?
My rebuttal to that is, I think it's funny how you try to slip your Lakers into that.
We just somewhere in the mix, play in 9, 8, 7, something like that.
No, okay. Yeah, y'all will get there. I agree. I think we 100% likely see the Pelicans back in the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe I'll eat my words, and I'll happily own up to it if I do. But just to compare them to the Mavericks, I don't. Who knows? I guess we got an unknown coming into the season this year. We got Zion actually going to suit up and play this year, so that could really change a whole lot of things. So I guess that we'll have to see. But just regardless of how I'm looking at the two teams right now, on paper, before the season actually starts, I don't quite think that they're on the Mavericks level is all.
Yeah. And that's the unknown part is what is totally subjective. And then we're just kind of trying to predict, because hopefully Zion stays healthy. I think everybody wants to see him, but we don't know what that really looks like. We don't know if Zion really going to stay healthy this year. I think the hope is that he does. He has a lot of potential. I want to see him out there. I also want to see how well they bond and how quickly they bond. Because last year when CJ McCollum came in, they struggled. They didn't struggle. Like, it was like a quick adjustment and they just kind of ascended. And I didn't really expect that. So now you add in another wrinkle, that's Zion Williams, and then you still got Herb Jones on that team, Alvarado. Like that, I don't know. I think they're gonna be gritty. I think they're gonna be dogs. And I think they're gonna be difficult to contend with if they can all stay healthy and kind of buy in like they did last year. Real quick in the YouTube chat, Big Game James said Pels for sure gonna step on teams. Let them know, Chris. Herb Jones is here. Luka gonna fill him. Euphoria said those divisional games get scrappy. Chris just saying, yeah, they do. They definitely do. And then Big Game James said, I think Memphis slides a bit. No Jared Jackson Jr. to start the season, which I agree with that as well. I still think that they finish probably top 5 or top 6, just because they're so young and they've just been proven to be able to win, without their key guys at times, no matter who that is. So I'm not as low, I think, on Memphis as I think some people are, but I'm also not thinking that they're going to finish, top 2 next year either. So Joey, what's up?
Real quick, because you mentioned that Herb Jones comment, I just wanted to put it out there, and I don't know if there was a discrepancy when I bet it. Just for anyone that is interested in it, I did do a quarter unit on Herb Jones to win Defensive Player of the Year. It was sitting at plus 6,500.
Ooh.
I still think it's 3,000 something, which I think is just mad disrespectful. You look at what this kid did in the postseason last year, and to have him be in the 3,000s, especially now with what's his name on Boston, Robert Williams missing time, because I think he was the favorite. I think there's some real good value in Herb Jones Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely, Joy. Absolutely. I could only agree with that, bro. Yeah, for sure. Did I have? I don't. Yeah, no. I was thinking about only player that I was thinking about targeting just a tad bit was Spencer Dinwiddie, and I talked about him. I'm interested to see what his numbers are. See if he can pick up where he left off last year after coming over from Washington. Luka MVP. I'm interested to hear what Luka got to say. The floor is yours, bro. If you want to come up and share your thoughts on your Dallas Mavericks this year.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed seeing this on my timeline. So I had to pop in here. But no. So two things. I mean, obviously you nailed the whole offseason on nailed it on the head. But two things I'm looking for. Number one is Christian Wood going to be that guy? And what I mean by that is one of the biggest upgrades that we got from Spencer Dinwiddie last year after that KP trade was we got someone to come off the bench. We had Jalen Brunson and Luka obviously in the starting lineup, but when Luka and JV were off the floor, we didn't have that guy to kind of like keep us in the game, and we kind of just fell off whatever scoring Luka was able to do. Like that was kind of just wiped away in the time that he was on the floor. So my thing to watch with Christian Wood, since he's coming off the bench, is can he be that guy to replace Spencer Dinwiddie's role in that aspect. I am on that train as well, underrating JaVale McGee. I think he had a reputation to his name that needs to be wiped away immediately, and I thought it should have been wiped away after his Lakers tenure. And I'm very happy to see him play actually meaningful minutes with the Mavericks now, because it's his second tenure here. But the second thing I'm looking at is I think we had some bold predictions on here, but I think Dorian Finney-Smith is the second most important person on this team. I think he's one of the best defensive players in the league, and I'm looking, can he transcend into that elite 3-and-D guy, and I think he can. And I'm running to the casinos to bet over on that 48.5. I have us winning around 50 games. I think might push it to 51. But another bold prediction, I think we make it to the NBA Finals. I really do.
Okay, I thought you had more about. You can't just come in here and say y'all gonna make it to the NBA Finals. Now tell me a little bit more about that.
No, man. Like what people don't understand is that we said it a couple of times. It's like these guys tasted success. These guys know what it looks like, and we're bringing the squad back. We're obviously losing Jalen Brunson. That's a big loss, but I think Spencer Dinwiddie can come in there and fill that role close to that ability that Jalen Brunson had. But something that people need to keep in mind is Luka is good, and I mean Luka is one of the best players in the league. But what he does is game changing for the role players. He makes every single player in that lineup with him better, no matter how good or bad you are. We know the name Dwight Powell as a lob threat because that's what Luka made him. And I think that's why I think Christian Wood and JaVale McGee are gonna have amazing years this year because they're on the same floor as Luka Doncic. So I think that's what people need to keep an eye on. Not only his scoring, but his playmaking and how good his ability to make others better is. One more thing on Luka too, with the overseas play. I don't know if you guys remember, but like in his second to third season, one of those 2 years, he said he came out completely ballsy and he said the gameplay over in the NBA is less skilled or less aggressive than overseas, or like I can play amazing here because I played overseas. He's right. He's right, and I'm completely encouraged that he's in shape and that he's gonna have a big year because he played overseas. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I can only agree with that. I mean, that's where he played at before he came over here and took the world by storm, right? And to a lot of people overseas, they're just looking at him like, he's doing what he was doing already. So I would agree with that for sure. He, definitely been playing with grown men since he was 14, 15, 16 years old, professionally at that too. So yeah, I mean, it's no coincidence that at 23 he's doing what he's doing when he started so young. So I would agree with that. And that is a bold prediction. Them coming out of the West and taking down the favorite Golden State Warriors, getting by Memphis. I think the Clippers will have something to say about that as well. We'll see what happens with Minnesota.
You know why it's not too bold though, Chris? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No. Go ahead. That's all I was gonna say.
I know. I can see he's a giant Mavs fan, and the thing is, what's crazy is it doesn't even seem like a homer play because I guarantee you, nobody thought they were even gonna make it to the Western Conference Finals last year. Nobody had them getting out of that series versus the Suns. So the reason why it's very bold, but it's definitely realistic, is because of 2 words, and that's Luka Doncic. So
that's a fact.
It definitely could happen. I don't have it on my notes, but I definitely don't think that is outlandish or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to what I said was, I think when they ran into what they ran into that they couldn't overcome, in my estimation, was size. Because we saw Kevon Looney and Draymond Green have impactful series and kind of dominate those series, in a way that was a way I didn't think Kevon Looney would do. And now you add the the centers that we talked about, bringing in JaVale McGee and that being extremely underrated, bringing in Christian Wood and what he can, the potential that he has. And I would agree with that. I mean, it's definitely a bold prediction, but if Dallas Mavericks got to the finals, I mean, after making it to the Western Conference Finals last year, it wouldn't surprise me too much. Luke, I want to come back to you, and then I'm gonna kick it to you, Black Gangs.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right on the head with that. But I think all Mavericks fans last year in the playoffs just wanted to get out of the first round. We hadn't been out of the first round in 11 years. We just needed to get something done, get Luka out of the first round, and most importantly, we weren't playing the Clippers. But you said 2 things about the Wizards. One thing about the Wizards, and then about the Mavericks that that came to mind. But the thing about the Mavericks, I'm not worried about our early season results dictating our long term. Only thing I'd be worried about is long-term injuries, and it ties into what you said about the Wizards. People forget that the Dallas Mavericks were not that good, and one of the reasons why Luka wasn't the favorite to win MVP at the beginning of the year before January 1st, and then once the first day of the year came on, they turned it on. And what you said about the Wizards. They if they buy in, they're gonna do what they're built to do, and that's what the Mavericks did. They bought in, and they bought into Kid's system. They bought into to what he's about and his defensive mentality, and he's turning basically an offensive-minded team into a defensive one. And that's what happened after January 1st, and that's why we were so successful. So that's two things that I think we need to keep in mind when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're a Luka fan, but I think you're a reasonable one. You're a logical one, for sure. Black Thor, I want to kick it to you because I know you've been waiting for a minute, bro. Give me your expectation. I think you're a Mavs fan too. Give me your expectations for the team this year.
Yo, what's up? Well, first, I'm not a Sixers fan. I'm not a Mavs fan.
Oh, my fault, bro.
No, you good. First of all, glad to be back in the spaces. But a big Luka fan. So I'm gonna go with three things. One, we're gonna go with size. All right. So the biggest thing I love about the Mavericks is they improved on their size. If we go back to last year's playoffs in the Golden State, Andrew Wiggins and Kevin Looney look like Tim Duncan and David Robinson out there. All right, just killing people on the glass, right? Two, I go to arm definition. So you ask me, what's arm definition? Luka Doncic doesn't look fat anymore. He finally looks like an NBA player with definitions on his arms, all right? That's the only thing. My only problem with Luka was always get in shape and stop crying about the refs. So we fix one problem, we fix the next, and it's all in, all right? And the third one, and I got to say this, I love Christian Wood as a talent, but Christian Wood is not great. He has a chance to be great, but Christian Wood has a lot of potential, right? So potential is something that can be, but isn't right now, right? Now, Christian Wood is the same player that had 25 rebounds in the game, but he's also the same player that refused to go in the game. Right? And in the next game, he might have 4 rebounds. And Christian Wood is on his third team. So it's not a talent issue with Christian Wood. It's a dedication. And I think somebody said, well, what reason does he have to play? You got millions of reasons to play basketball every day at a high level. So I just had to give a little pushback with that. But I'm big on the Mavs, and I still think they have a legit chance to go to back to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think that's the pushback that if you don't feel like we feel about Christian Wood, then I think the opposite of that is what you said, Black Thor. I think it's just that, like you said, Christian Wood hasn't proven anything yet. We're all high on him because he's still so young. We see the skill set that he brings to the table and what his potential is. But like you said, potential is just, talent that we haven't seen yet. So it's success that we haven't seen yet. So I would agree with you on that.
The only thing I would give him the benefit is he doesn't even have to be great to make the Mavericks good. He just got to hit open threes, finish at the rim. They won't even ask him to do it, but so even though I'm not the highest on him, just based on the system, and also I think Jason Kidd, they'll get on him too. I think they're well aware of his strengths and weaknesses. I still think he's going to be good this season. And like I said, I think I'm gonna follow you on that Luka Doncic MVP, man. I'm all money in. If I seen a man laugh at people in a conference finals games while dogging Devin Booker, I seen enough, man. I'm all in.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, though.
Absolutely, bro. I appreciate you being here, man. I'm glad we can actually talk hoops again too. I remember you requesting up last year, being in the spaces for sure. So yeah, we're gonna run it back all again this year, man. If anybody else got any takes they want to share on the Dallas Mavericks, definitely request up. If you joined late, broke down the Washington Wizards as well. Yesterday we did the Knicks and the Jazz, and tomorrow, looking ahead, we got the Philadelphia 76ers and the Sacramento Kings. So we'll get into the 76ers, which is always an interesting conversation. We'll also talk about the Sacramento Kings, and then on Friday, on Saturday, probably Saturday morning, we'll do the Pacers and the Warriors on Saturday morning as well, before college football starts. So it'll probably be about 10 a.m. Eastern time, something like that. Let me get Mike up real quick. See what he got to say about the Dallas Mavericks or the Washington Wizards. Let's see. I don't know if you. Oh yeah, it looked like you connected, Mike. If you can hear me, bro, the floor is yours. Definitely share your thoughts and your opinions.
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It feels great to be talking about the NBA, man.
Absolutely, bro.
It feels like it's been 18 years, but it's only been a couple months.
I know, right?
But I just came up just to play a little bit of pushback too. Like, we all know Luka Doncic is the real deal, but the one guy was talking about how he doesn't see the Pelicans like really not as a threat, or I don't know if he said not as a threat, but he just made it clear like Dallas is like obviously the clear better team.
Uh-huh.
And I would kind of push back. I get it though, because we haven't seen this Pelican team as one whole, as everybody together, so it makes sense and it's obvious. Dallas, we know they're the real deal, but to me, it's kind of hard to argue that the Pelicans can't be, if not exactly like the Dallas, maybe even a little bit better, because you could argue that.
Hey, Mike, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're breaking up a little bit.
And by attention, he's going to garner down on the low. Hello?
Yeah, you good. You good now. I can hear you.
Hello.
You broke up just a tad bit, though. I can hear you now if you can hear me.
Yeah, could you tell me where you heard me stop off at?
Yeah, you had just got into why you think the Pelicans do have the potential to be better than the Dallas Mavericks.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, I feel like you could argue. I'm not by any means saying like Luka Doncic and Zion is on the same wavelength of basketball player. We know Luka Doncic every year. He's growing. He's only 23. We know what he does. But I think I'm just basically trying to say the Pelicans are structured very, 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 very good. Like, if you look at it, Zion potentially could hold the same power as Luka Doncic, like attention-wise, like on the low block or anywhere in that facility, he's going to garner attention. I don't care if it's JaVale McGee, Christian Wood. I don't care who you got down there, man. Like, Zion is going to garner attention. And I feel like that's what Luka Doncic does, you know? You can't – there's no guarding Luka. I feel like Zion has that same power. And then when you look at the surrounding cast, we all just seen what the Pelicans done, you know? From 0-12 in the beginning of the season, and then to pick up one piece, and you could argue, like, CJ McCollum, he's good, but he ain't really all that. So to go from like I'm not saying he's a great player, but look what they did with a great player, and they fucking gave the Suns a run for their money for 6 games. You drop a Zion on there, I feel like they're not. We've never seen them, so we can't sit here and say they're better than Dallas. I definitely get that, but to say that they won't like do nothing, like, bro, if they weren't going to do nothing, that's just hard to believe, because you're dropping a guy in that team, and you're like, bro, like, I don't even know how to really say it. Zion,
I get what you're saying, Mike. You're saying, like,
what he does for his position, bro, like, it's just crazy. And I'm not a Pelican fan at all. Like, I love Luka Doncic, I love Dallas. I just thought that you kind of got to show a little bit more respect. I know that everyone's talking about it now, so it's kind of like cliche to say now, but I honestly think, like, for their respective roles, I think Zion is equivalent to Luka Doncic. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know anybody who's more dominant right now in their role, like for on that block area, than Zion.
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. I definitely understand it, and I think Joey made those comments, and that's why I was kind of giving him a little bit of pushback as well. But like I said, I kind of leave it there, right? Because as you said, as Joey said too, like we haven't seen it yet, right? So when we get a chance to see, you know, that team with you know, Zion out there and Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, and of course we're gonna have to be patient with them. We're gonna have to give them some time and let them kind of figure it out. Not think that, you know, just because it looks so extravagant on paper that it's going to necessarily work. But I am interested to see what they look like, you know, 10, 15 games into the season, you know, after they've had a chance to, you know, go through play against some good teams, play against some weak teams, see how, you know, mentally focused they are, locked in for the season, and see what their potential is. I'm interested. I'm really, really interested in seeing that.
I do agree with one guy though. Said what the one dude said, like, if I'm them, I am not making no arguments with Luka Doncic. I ain't calling out his name. I ain't laughing at him. I ain't doing
nah, yeah, that ain't what you want to do.
We know you get Luka Doncic, man. He gonna give you that smirk, and you gonna have a problem on your hands, bro.
Yeah, that ain't what you want. Yeah, for sure, bro. I'm with you on that. Real quick, Euphoria said Phoenix soft. I knew Dallas was gonna get past them. I still feel the Mavs are lacking in depth, because if Luka gets injured, it's a wrap. And that's what I was saying, Euphoria. I think they are, you know, a little top heavy for sure. I love Luka, but the NBA isn't giving him the MVP if he continues playing only 60 games a season. That is also true. He's gonna have to stay healthy. And I already talked about himself in the offseason, even though he should come into this season, you know, a little bit, in a lot better condition than he typically is as well. But yeah, that's it, man. It's crazy to think that I've been on here for an hour and 5 minutes already. I'm not trying to, prolong these at all, but if people got thoughts and they want to share, and we talked a while, we talked for like 45 minutes about the Mavs, just the Mavs. So I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm gonna wrap this one up though. Like I said, tomorrow, Philly and Sacramento. If you want to catch any other repeats, if you join late and you want to hear my take or just Gambling Twitter's take on these teams and the previews, definitely tap in on the YouTube page. If you're watching the video, definitely give it a like, subscribe. It's gonna be a basketball show that I'm gonna be doing on my YouTube page as well when the season starts. But we're gonna keep going, man. We're gonna keep going for sure. Euphoria said great content, Chris. NBA can't come any sooner. Nah, for sure. The MLB getting a little crazy. So yeah, we definitely we almost here though. We got a week and a day before preseason starts over in Japan when the Golden State Warriors play the Washington Wizards, and then we'll get into some NBA basketball for sure. So, and that's the thing, right? We're doing these previews so that hopefully people been able to tap in. If you haven't, you've been able to rewatch. If you haven't been able to do either, hopefully you've been able to do your own research because we have talked about key games. We've talked about key players, even on bad teams that we want to target. And we've talked about good players. We've talked about players who have something to prove, teams who have something to prove, when we're looking to take certain players on certain nights, rest advantages, strength of schedule, all those things have been talked about. And from just from a content standpoint, it's a lot of information to digest, which is why you take notes. But from a betting perspective, all of that is applicable in who we're going to take on a nightly basis. And I always say, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So that's the point in doing these. Tomorrow, 5:15, y'all tap in with me again. Philadelphia 76ers, Sacramento Kings. And like I said, on Saturday, it'll be the Pacers and the Golden State Warriors. I appreciate you guys for stopping through. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and tell a friend, man. And that's all I got, man. Best of luck on your NFL bets. I am on Pittsburgh tonight. I got it late. I should have took the 4.5, but I took the 3.5, and I'm probably gonna look to take the under in some way, shape, or form. Back in Tomlin and the guys tonight, even though it sucks to back Mitchell Trubisky because I'm not the biggest fan, but yeah, I put that bet in already plus the 3, and I'm probably gonna play the under 2. Heard the wind was blowing about 20 miles per hour, so I know it's low, but I'm probably gonna get on that total 2 in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's gonna be full game or first half, but I'm gonna probably get on that total as well after I do just a tad bit more research on that. Appreciate the speakers for coming through, Joey, Wham. I know Wham, you didn't say anything, you didn't speak. Prop, you didn't speak either, but I see y'all in the chat. DJ, you as well. All the Mavs fans that came through, and all the Washington Wizards fans, man. Appreciate you guys. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evenings, and go Pittsburgh because I need some money on this bet tonight. Y'all be good.